Black people can't swim. This is a trope that we understand to be true in America, and that those, particularly in my generation, always got made fun of for. But there's a reason for that. As with most things in this country, it all comes down to racism. When we talk about swimming in America, most people think of summer fun, but the history beneath the surface tells a very different story. For generations, Black Americans were often denied access to public swimming pools, beaches, and recreational waters because of Jim Crow segregation. This just wasn't exclusion. It was systematic discrimination with real consequences for generations. Across the country, public pools were explicitly segregated. In some cities, Black swimmers weren't allowed in certain pools at all, or were only allowed at limited times in inferior facilities. And as the civil rights movement pushed for desegregation in the 1950s and 60s, some cities chose a shocking response. They closed or drained or filled their pools with cement entirely, rather than letting Black and white people swim together. For example, in Jackson, Mississippi, city officials closed 4 public pools in 1963 rather than integrate them after activists pushed for equal access. A 5th was sold to the YMCA, which continued to operate it as a whites-only pool. These closures were ultimately upheld by the US Supreme Court, meaning cities could legally shut their pools down instead of allowing integration. In Nashville, Tennessee, when 2 young civil rights activists attempted to swim in the whites-only Centennial Park pool in 1961, city officials responded by closing all public pools, and leaving them shut for years. The Centennial Park pool itself was later filled with cement and eventually repurposed into an art center rather than reopening as an integrated swimming space. Even in places that weren't formally segregated by law, access was restricted in ways that kept Black swimmers out, and resistance sometimes turned violent. At Fairground Park Pool in St. Louis, Missouri, the first attempt to integrate in 1949 ended in racial violence. Attendance dropped, and the pool ultimately closed because white patrons stopped coming. There were many other examples, from municipal pools that enforced segregation schedules to facilities that simply disappeared after the push to desegregate. Some towns filled their pools with dirt and grass rather than share them. This history matters today. Swimming is a skill that requires access to water, safe places to learn, and practice over time. But for decades, Black children were excluded from the very public pools funded by their tax dollars. After desegregation, when many public pools were closed instead of integrated, communities lost places where children could learn to swim, where families could gather, and where water safety skills could be taught. So the next time you make a joke to your Black friends about them not being able to swim, remember to educate yourself about why something as simple as swimming is a part of your white privilege. And that is why everything in this country comes back